What would you do if you had all the time that got spent dealing with drama back? Just think of what creative projects, innovative ideas, or collaborative endeavors you could do if you could reallocate gossip, blame, defensiveness, and recurring conflicts into something productive instead. My goal for sharing with you today is to get you a few steps closer to that ideal. To first help you see what drama looks like, getting to know its most regular characters so you can see it, name it, and shift it. But first, who am I and how did I get here? My name is Kaley Klemp, and the story starts with my dad. I'm the oldest, so he and I got in a few years before I had to share him with my other two siblings. And since I was young, we've been tight. The year I was born, he started a computer software company because nothing says good time to be an entrepreneur like starting your family. That grew into a computer graphics company in the era when computers took up entire rooms rather than just being carried around in our pockets. I'll never forget the first trade show I went to. I was a 10-year-old girl, which meant every booth had candy for me, and every evening had a product display that looked and felt to me like I was in a video game. I concluded that my dad's job was to talk to cool people at events and eat candy. I was in. As my dad's company grew, he joined Young Presidents Organization, or YPO, which I know is true of many members of Tugboat. After he sold that company, a forum asked him to facilitate, and so began his path. When he asked me if I wanted to help out at a retreat he was facilitating, using my prior experience as a benchmark of how great it would be, I said yes. In a way that only my dad can, he had me in the circle and seeing changes that were possible through that format. I wasn't just in, I was hooked. I spent my weekends and vacation days facilitating with my dad as I finished my master's degree in sociology and organizational behavior at Stanford and worked as a consultant at Deloitte. Since then, he inspired my first book, 13 Guidelines for Effective Teams, and we co-authored a book called The Drama-Free Office. Our professional practices have been separate for over 15 years now. You can tell because rather calling Jim for a work discussion, it's instead for our weekly walking phone date as just father-daughter. Or I'm calling for Bopper, his family nickname, so that he can talk and read stories with my 8-year-old daughter. From that first retreat with my dad, I got curious about business dynamics and how most business dynamics are human dynamics, and that one of the most common things that kept great companies and teams from reaching their potential is when they fall out of curiosity and instead get caught in defensiveness and drama. While there's less candy involved than I originally thought, I've devoted the last 20 years to learning, enhancing, and teaching various tools to help teams operate with more trust, candor, responsibility, collaboration, and success. Today, I want to share one of my favorite tools with you, the drama triangle. The model begins with a line, just a single horizontal line. I love this model because it's both so simple and so powerful. Above the line is curiosity. Below the line is defensiveness. And while there are lots of different ways you might think about curiosity, awareness, openness, willingness, trust, or thinking in possibilities, I think of it mostly as being more committed to learning and acting from choices. Similarly, defensiveness could be characterized as being reactive, closed, cynical, or, as we'll explore a little more later, in drama. But I like to think of it as a commitment to being right. Not to getting it right, but to my position and my perspective where I'm right and you're wrong, and acting because I have to. I also think it's important to recognize that everyone gets defensive. The goal of sharing this model with you isn't so that you never get defensive again. Rather, the goal is to have you recognize it really quickly so that it lasts a short period of time. Hopefully you learn something about yourself and then you make a shift. I've been teaching this model for years, and yet I still get defensive on a regular basis. This happened to me recently. The story is that I am a self-identified extrovert. I get my energy from being with people. I hold tremendous respect for introverts, but find that I get my energy and share my best ideas by talking. I'm that person who comes home from a conference and calls my husband brimming with energy from all that I learned, the amazing people I met. It even still happens after Zoom. All the rhetoric about Zoom fatigue, but when I've been engaged with people all day, I am energized. So I was copied on an email from an introvert to a CEO that I coach talking about introverts and extroverts. So far, I'm still totally curious. It's talking about investing and diversity and how important cognitive diversity it is. But then it starts comparing introverts and extroverts. And it said that extroverts are good talkers and introverts are good listeners. and I get defensive, which upon reflection is strange because I talk for a living. But in that moment, I thought to myself, but I'm a really good listener. Just ask my clients, just ask my friends, just ask my husband. And I realized that I've just made being a listener better than being a talker. And I feel less than, judged, threatened, and disapproved of. Now I'm going to find fault in their argument. I'm going to enroll others and prove that I'm right and they're wrong. Now this whole dialogue lasts maybe 1 or 2 minutes in my head before I pause, take a deep breath and question my certainty. And then I open up to learning. I ask myself, how do I talk more than listen? How can I learn from that? What else might I be missing out on? And with that additional insight, I wonder, what else might be possible? Anyone who has read the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, which Jim Dethmer, Diana Chapman, and I wrote together, knows that this same line can be applied to all sorts of situations, to parenting, marriage, curiosity, candor, and more. For our work with drama today, above the line is being committed to learning rather than being right, to taking 100% responsibility for your life and acting from choice rather than have to. And even just that one shift from defensiveness to curiosity, from below to above the line, is huge. But there's more. Below the line starts to get more interesting with the 3 primary characters in the drama triangle. If you think of any good drama, think of cartoons, your favorite movie, or even the news, you need 3 roles to be played: the victim, the villain, and the hero. Let's take a closer look at these 3. The first is the victim, where my position is that life is happening to me. I'm at the effect of life. I'm powerless, unable to take action, and stuck. Notice that when in the posture of victimhood, it feels like all of the air was let out of my tires. Sometimes this is dramatic, like I'm showing it here, but often it's more subtle. I would have turned in that report, but the data wasn't loading in our system. Here, I'm at the effect of our systems not working, or our technology, or I just can't seem to get Sam to return my calls. Here, I'm at the effect of Sam, and there's nothing more that I can do. Just to be fair, this is not saying that there are not situations where a person can be a victim. That can be true if someone, for instance, is a victim of child abuse or a crime. What we're talking about here is the posture of victimhood, where a whole life is filtered through the lens of others having agency, but them being at the effect of those others. I'm at the effect of the weather. It's too hot or cold. I'm at the effect of not getting anything done because I just don't ever have enough time. Most of us don't like to see where we engage in victimhood, but it's useful to find a situation or 2 where you start to notice this pattern of thinking, life is happening to me, or I'm at the effect of another person or group or situation. It helps us come to see ourselves more clearly and might even have us notice where we identify with poor koala. The second character is the villain. The villain's job is to blame. From this posture, I see the entire world through the glasses that there is something wrong, and I need to find out whose fault it is that it is wrong, so that blame and punishment can be correctly applied. I think of the villain as having a big wagging finger. Sometimes it goes out toward others. You did it. It's your fault. On a personal front, how could you have been caught without extra toilet paper? In the office, you should have known that that client was at risk for churn. Who didn't follow up with them? Often, the blame is an accusation of another, but sometimes the finger points in. This is the inner critic. Kaley, you should have known better. You should have been more prepared. You shouldn't have trusted someone else to do this work. It's too important. You'll notice that there's a convenient relationship between the victim and the villain, that the villain usually blames a victim. They're a convenient person to blame. And a victim usually feels at the effect of a villain. They're a good someone who is doing this hard or bad thing to me. Now, our third character is the hero. The hero's job is to create temporary relief, which in the moment seems awesome and feels good. The problem is, of course, the word temporary. When a hero's at work, the solutions don't last. This is the energy of rescuing and protecting because deep down, I believe the other person isn't capable. Again, helping out a friend on a one-time basis, that's not hero. Compassion or being kind, also not necessarily hero. And if you jump in to save the day and the solution lasts, fabulous. That's great leadership, instincts, or problem solving. When I first learned this model, I thought that being the hero was the best role. I mean, it's obvious why victimhood causes drama. No options, no actions, no learning. That's a recipe for nothing changing. It's also clear why villain causes drama. Blame creates a culture of fear, a culture of hiding rather than learning from mistakes, and lack of innovation for fear of being wrong. But hero? Don't you get a cape and cool boots? The reason that heroing creates drama is because it's unsustainable. It systematically disempowers the people around you because you see them through the lens of missing capability. They can't, so I have to. And even further, they can't even learn how to do it themselves, which creates dependency. This is the classic story of give them a fish every day rather than equipping them with a pole and some skills to fish for themselves, and maybe even the village. Occasionally, rather than acting as the hero to someone else, I hero myself. This is when I want to create temporary relief for me. I don't want to feel something like sadness or discomfort, so I eat a pint of mint chocolate chip ice cream instead. Self-hero. Or maybe I don't want to experience conflict, so rather than address the real issue, I avoid through productive procrastination. It's temporary relief, but it lets that issue linger. Interestingly, I find that hero is often the most short-lived of the drama roles because quickly people go from hero down to victim. It's so hard to be the only one who knows how to reset our back-end systems. It's so common that we named it. It's called the martyr slide, that what starts as hero becomes victimhood. It's so hard to hold all the institutional knowledge about all of our clients. I mean, I get asked questions all day and night rather than being able to do my real work. Now that you have a sense of each of these characters individually, let's take a quick look at a few examples of how they interact on the full drama triangle and how that might play out on a corporate team. One I see is an executive team meeting where the focus is how sales is doing. The sales leader kicks it off with some villain-style blame. We are not able to make our numbers because we're not getting the support we need from marketing. Where are the MQLs? Marketing responds with victim. We would give you more leads, but we're waiting to design our materials until we get a clear product roadmap. We're really stuck here until we know the advancements and the features that we're highlighting. Often, product chimes in with some villain blame back at sales. You guys keep promising features that aren't even important. Then you tell us they're urgent. You keep hijacking our roadmap. At this point, sometimes it spirals into a full-on yelling drama, though often the CEO will jump in with some hero. I can see that this subject requires some additional exploration. Let's just push the topic to our next meeting so we can get more info, which is really secret code for I'm super uncomfortable with this level of conflict, so I'm going to create some temporary relief for myself and get out of this moment, but not actually solve the underlying issue. Then there's the example of the manager who was leading a team where someone's work wasn't meeting expectations. In this particular instance, the full triangle happened inside her head. Started with villain. Your work sucks. I'm so mad all the time about everything. Why didn't HR train you better? Why can't you just do your work? Followed by victim. But I can't afford to fire you, and I'm not even in the office with you anymore. I thought traveling all the time was an obstacle. Zoom as our only means of communication? That's way worse. I don't have time to train you. I don't even have a good way to train you. I am stuck in this terrible situation. Then some hero. I'll just double check all the work and redo everything that has a mistake. I know it's not sustainable, but then I'll know all the details and I won't have to trust anyone else. And maybe I can even create my own onboarding system so that I don't need to collaborate with HR. That'll give me more control. Even if it's just a fantasy in my own mind that I'll never execute, it makes me feel better about it just right now today. Hopefully you've got the sense to start to see some of the drama situations that are happening in your world, both at home and at work. Right about now, most people are saying some version of, I get it. I see the situation with my own particular flavor in painfully acute colors. How do I get out? The first step is to recognize that you're in drama. One of my favorite riddles is from Gurdjieff. If you wish to get out of prison, the first thing that you must do is realize that you are in prison. If you think you are free, you can't escape. So the work we've been doing around awareness and identification is a crucial first step. To be able to ask the question, am I curious or defensive, above or below the line? Where am I in drama? I sometimes think about this as a real estate agent saying, location, location, location. Once you know where you are, then can you accept yourself for being there? Sometimes this seems counterintuitive, but if you layer on shame or shoulds, seriously, self, how could you get in drama again? There's another layer of defensiveness and villain to shift. But if you can acknowledge that you're in drama, recognize the character you're playing, then you're on your way back to 100% responsibility. From that perspective, you can see whether your positive intention to prevent conflict, to get the product more aligned with marketing, to make a change in a system, you can check with some humility whether or not it's working. Pro tip, usually if you're in this inquiry, at least something isn't working. I find in this moment it's quite useful and often fun to make the drama situation bigger, to exaggerate it. There was one CEO I coached who loved this model so much that she taped placards on her floor, one for victim, one for villain, one for hero. Then she taught her team the full drama triangle, and when they came into her office with a problem, she would welcome them in and ask them to tell the story of the situation, just standing on the placard for the character that they were playing. So they'd move around the triangle, start in victim. I think our clients are going to be mad at us. Move over to villain. But it's not our fault. Our supplier isn't adjusting their delivery times or prioritizing us. Then move over to hero. So I was thinking of just sending them all care packages. They're expensive, but then I'll have a lot fewer unhappy customer service calls. And often after they walked the drama, using their own words and identifying the characters, sometimes with humor and sometimes with some embarrassment, they leave our office with, "Great talk, thanks for the coaching." Sometimes just seeing the situation magnified, where the roles and interactions are clear, is enough to make a shift. Most of the time, though, this is just the setup, and the next part is to coach someone willing to be coached. Why emphasize that they need to be willing? Well, have you ever tried to help someone who was adamant that they didn't need help? Good luck. Trying to coach someone who is unwilling to be coached usually reinforces the drama, usually positioning you in the role of the hero if you make the drama stop for the brief moment, or the villain if you're challenging the person to take responsibility. So first, notice how you're in drama. Second, accept yourself for being there, because often there's a benefit, like being right. Third, check for willingness. And then fourth, with a willing participant, coach. A few of my favorite coaching questions are, what do you really want? What is in your control? What action steps can you take? And what is your plan? Then, after the acute situation has passed, to pause, reflect, and learn. We could take the situation, even of attending a conference, as an example. Rather than falling into, stupid COVID ruins everything, villain, or victim, guess this year's a bust, nothing I can really do about that. Instead, ask, what do you really want? It could be about learning, or about connecting, or about visiting somewhere beautiful, having time to reflect and be in nature. Based on what you want, what is in your control? It could be that you keep your calendar clear for the sessions. Could be that you reach out to the speakers one-on-one to apply the learnings to your particular business or situation. Could be that you set up social Zoom calls with the buddies that you're missing, or that you fly to Sun Valley and enjoy that in nature, whether the conference is officially hosted there in person or not. Then take action. Make a plan and engage those who will help support you in making it happen. After the situation has passed, there's often time for reflection and learning about patterns, about what to do the same and differently in the future, and often some surprise learnings, gifts, or notches in the belt that might come in handy in the future. I sometimes think of navigating drama like taking a course in high school or college. I want to get all the learning possible the first time, so I never need to retake the class. Sometimes this sounds simple and yet feels impossible. What I know is that when the leaders and teams that I coach learn the system, start identifying situations where the drama triangle is at work, and start, with willing participants, coaching themselves and each other, that elusive promise of creative projects, innovative ideas, collaborative endeavors, they become real. Because all the time and energy that they had previously wasted on drama, they get it back. Thank you.